His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. I want to use another verse, and you'll see how this comes together. Genesis, the 22nd chapter, and the 14th verse. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord, it shall be seen. It shall be seen. I want you to focus in on the seen part. The seen part. And I want to use for a title, and I was really split because this gets into worship. You may be seated. I want to use for a title of this message, the power of magnifying God. The power of magnifying God. If I could use for a subtitle, I would probably use something like analyzing praise and worship. Analyzing praise and worship. Praise and worship are really two totally distinct things, and I somewhat balk at saying that because anybody that goes into a session of praise, if you're praising God any length of time, you will get into worship. Yeah. If you go into a session of worship, and I won't explain the two this morning too much, but if you get into a session of worship, you probably more than likely will get into praise. They intersect. I will say this, worship is so much more powerful, and that's what I'll be talking about today really in this message. Worship is so much more powerful than praise that I often have said, and I will I'll stick to my guns, praise is a prerequisite to worship. Praise lays the foundation, the launching pad for worship. Worship, real worship is powerful. There's nobody that should worship the Lord at any given time and come away the same person. Even though worship and praise is meant to be theocentric and for God and unto the Lord, it is impossible to praise and worship God and not receive back from praising and worshiping God. I said I'm going to talk slow today. I want you to hear what I'm saying. I'll probably pick up speed, I'm sure. When I look at this particular passage of scripture, and I want to analyze praise or worship, I said I wasn't going to go into it in depth. Praise thanks God for what he has done. Yeah. Praise thanks God for what he has done. It just shows a gratefulness, a thankfulness to whatever God has done. Generically speaking, you can praise anything. I can look at these wood pews that are over 100 years old that was designed and made just for this church. A man came in here quite a few years ago now and made cushions. He came all the way from the state of Kansas, if I remember right, made cushions for these pews. And he said, if anybody offers you any amount of money for just one of those pews, it won't be worth it. These are truly antiques, and they are made well. He had his own form of praise in the pews from his knowledge and understanding of woodwork. And I can say I can praise the pews because they have ornate woodwork, carvings into the woodwork that was carved over 100 years ago. And I can praise God because people sit on them, and I've never seen them collapse or fail somebody. They do their job. I can praise these pews because they do what they should do. I'm grateful for them. I have a certain praise for them. You can praise something. I praise my car because it's got 200,000 miles, and has never failed me yet. But praise to God, of course, is much greater than that because of all that he's done. I'm thankful. Worship does not thank God. Worship thinks God. When you worship God, you are beyond thanking him for what he has done, and you think about the God and the character of God, the very God that did it. I thank God for salvation, but then when I want to worship him, I have to think about why he did it. And that delves into who he is. So then worship, praise will deal with the whatness of God, what he's done. Worship will delve into the who-ness of God, who he is. What kind of God would do that? We say some things that's really strange to me, and I don't think we've thought them out. He loves me more than I love myself. Of course. God is love. You don't even know the kind of love God has, really. You can't even, I'm trying to think, somebody was trying to compare themselves with Bishop Morris E. Golder as a preacher. I said, he's not even in the same level. He's talking about ballpark. He's not even in the same country. Some things are just out of reach, and that's in man's land. So when it comes to thinking about God and his loving you, of course, he loves you more than you love yourself, even after salvation, because you don't know the depths of love like the God who is love knows. But I understand you're thinking that's the best we can do with our human frail minds. When I look at the 34th Psalm, here once again is David running for his life. And he takes time to stop and think about God enough and thank God enough to say, I will bless the Lord in spite of what I'm going through at all times. This was not, I hit on this a little bit last week and I don't want to stay there. This is not your typical Sunday night praise service when David began to say this, when the choir was right and the organ hit all the right keys and the singer, the psalmist, sang with such a melodic, anointed voice and got the crowd in an uproar. Now everybody's happy in the house. No, David was running for his life. Didn't have anything to eat. Stopped and ate off of the priest's table. Lied in the middle of it, but he thought as he began to run for his life, I will bless the Lord anyway at all times. I must stick anyway in there. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord, the humble shall hear thereof. And then he stops and says, oh, magnify the Lord with me. Yes. Magnify. Blow God up. Yes. When you magnify the Lord, you are thinking. You're not thinking, you're thinking God. That's why I said this is praise. I got to stick a little bit of praise. This is really worship today. Yes. I'm talking about worship today. This is thinking God when you magnify him. Yes. It's an interesting thing to me that people think that God has to take them through all kinds of challenges and tests and walls and trials and tribulations so that God will know them. That's an awful small God. I don't want to serve a God that has to find out who you are. The God that we serve knows all there is to know about you. He knows your beginning from your end. Isaiah the 46th chapter, I believe it's around the 10th verse, it says, he prepared the end from the beginning. Who writes a book like that? He prepares the end from the beginning, saying, my counsel shall stand. He's already looked at the end of the book. He knows how this is going to end. And he knows how our individual lives are going to unveil and unfold. We're the ones trying to figure it out. To think that God has to take us through something to know who we are and to figure out whether you will or you won't do something right or wrong in any given situation, paints to me a very small picture of the mind of God. You trying to keep him on human terms for real. I might have to try to figure you out. I study people. I'm a student of people. People are very interesting. Somebody says nothing surprises me anymore. Well, it does me. It still surprises me. I can go to the mall and sit in the mall, and I am surprised by what people wear sometimes. I am surprised. I went through the airport, and I'm surprised when you got a stud in your eye, one in your lip, one in your nose, big old hole in your, look like a spare tire in your ear. And I saw two guys that was so grungy flying together, so they gotta have some money. These plane flights aren't cheap, and when they landed, then they tell you if you see anything on the PA system suspicious, half the people in there are suspicious looking to me. I mean, that's just me though. I'm surprised. People never fail to disappoint me when it comes to surprising me. But when it comes to God, nothing takes him off guard. He doesn't have to try to figure out who you are by what you go through. Now let's look at the Bible. He says, oh, magnify the Lord with me. So David, let me get this straight. You're going through some stuff, and you have decided that what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through is still a time that I stop and magnify the God that I serve. I don't know if you know it or not, but one of your greatest weapons is to magnify God in the middle of your mess. And I'll show you why in a few. To magnify God while I'm in my stuff. I'm going to say it. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. A lot of us do the reverse. When we're going through something, I'm not going to church today. You know, my kids, they did this, and I just bailed Jesse Jr. out of jail last night, and I am not feeling. I was up to 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get him. Went to the bail, the bail bondsman, and my husband's not feeling too well, and I'm dealing with this and I'm dealing with that, and money's a little short. Oh, you really need to go magnify him now. And I'll tell you why. And let me get to my point. You really need to magnify him now. I can't think of a better time to magnify God than when you are going through some stuff. I'm going to explain this. You just ride with me for a second. I said I wasn't going to be in a hurry. Just ride. It's not going to take me long. I'm just going to take my time. Ride with me. What's he talking about? He's kind of crazy. That dude crazy. He's talking about magnifying the Lord. I'm in the middle of some mess. When I look at what David says, don't follow what I say. That's the first thing. You get off when you follow the preacher, and the preacher don't have Bible to support him. Don't follow what I say. I'm going to tell you what I say from what God says in his word. Follow ye him. That's the first thing. Follow God. What I say don't amount to a hill of beans if I can't find it in the scriptures. This is what God says. He said, David, in the midst of what he's dealing with, he lets us know out of God's word. This is a song, remember? They sing this stuff. You're stronger off what you sing. So if you're running around singing songs like, we fall down, but we get up, guess what? You're going to always be falling. Whatever you fed your mind with is what you're going to be doing. Yeah, that's what you'll be continuing to fall. I love the fact that, a saint has the power of forgiveness. But if I keep singing that, I'm going to only sing failure to myself. Don't sing this stuff here. Sing stuff like the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies, came up to eat me, they stumbled and fell. How about the enemy falling instead of me? The enemy's supposed to be falling, not me. I'm supposed to be victorious walking in God. I ought to be to the point where the enemy, oh no, he done woke up again. Why don't he go back to sleep? Oh, because Aaron's woke now, and Rick is woke now, and I know they are demon chasing. I can't do all that I wanted to do now because they're going to be praying against what I do, and God is more powerful than the devil any day or any hour of the week. I'm not falling down and getting back up. If that's your song, your mantra, you go ahead and fall. I just hope I'm there to help you up.
Yes.
All right. You are what you eat.
Yes.
He says, and this guy, David, the worshiper, he wasn't perfect. You trace his life, he wasn't perfect.
Yes.
He had failures, but he was a worshiper. He said, oh, magnify the Lord with me.
Yes.
So once again, let me go back to it. We can't make God any bigger than he already is.
Yes.
So David, what in the world are you talking about? First of all, this thought of worship is theocentric, God-centered. When I worship, it's unto God.
Yes.
It's unto God. It's not about me. So he's saying, oh, magnify. Blow him up. I use my phone for a lot of stuff. They have an app on here, a magnifying glass. I use it for that sometime. I have a compass. I have a measurement thing. I use my phone for stuff like that. But you see stuff when you magnify.
Yes.
And that's where I'm going with this. What do you mean magnify the Lord with me? The heavens is his throne, and the earth is his footstool. You think you can blow him up any bigger than that? So we got to get to understand this magnifying thing. What are you talking about? From the end to the beginning, the 90th Psalm says, thou art not going to be art God. He's already in the future.
Yes.
No such thing as a future with God. He's already there because of his omnipresence. Doesn't just deal with space. It deals with time. He's already in the future.
Yes.
The omnipresence of God says that God's everywhereness, yes, he's everywhere, but he also occupies not just all of space. If you're in the nightclub, I want to tell you something. God's in there. You don't like what's going on in there, but he's in there because he's omnipresent. If you're in the church house, he's in there. We try to call him in our service. You know, the only one that is not aware of that is you. God's already there, but his manifest presence is something completely different. You try to call him into the streets or into your situation, he's already in your marriage. Whether you're fighting or you're kissing each other in the mouth, God's already there. God's already there. But he doesn't just deal with his everywhereness, being everywhere at the same time, but in his omnipresence, he also deals with time. He's also everywhere in time. I think we missed that. His everywhereness says, I'm already in the future. So that my wise pastor came up with a statement that I use. He's the only being that has an eternal present tense. I have a past, you have a past. I have a present, you have a present. If we keep living, we'll have a future. But not God. God has an eternal present tense. He's already in the future. But when you think you can magnify God like that? Well, you better understand what magnifying him is all about. He says, blow him up. I got to go back to it. People here, they already know about this story. I got to tell it again because I'm going to talk about it a little more today. So I had a daughter that had a leaf collection years ago, of course, when my children were young, and she had it in this nice little neat folder, and it had an A+ on it. And I took the leaf collection. I'm not quite that bright, to be quite honest. I said, what does a leaf collection look like that's an A+? So I sat down and I carefully went through it. Had a little name in there, had a leaf here, had all the names on the leaf. And I said, interesting. Flipped it over to the next page, had a different leaf from a different, I'm gonna call it breed of tree, and had it all labeled and everything. And I flipped the page. I said, that's good. I see some things there.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I took the very same leaf collection and got the magnifying glass. I put a magnifying glass on it. And I opened, the joy of the leaf collection didn't change, it was the same book. I took the leaf collection, opened the book up. Nothing in the book changed. It was the very same report that got her an A+ the first time. But now, everything's changed for me because I've got the magnifying glass. I'm the one in control of magnifying it. So I opened up the leaf collection and I looked at the leaf and I began to look at this leaf and I saw stuff in that leaf I ain't never seen the first time. I saw in that leaf, it said, all those little veins and stuff, the leaf blade, and it had the margin, and it had the midrib, and it had the vein, had the base, had the venules, had the apex, had the apple. I saw the stem, the stipula, the petula. I saw stuff in that leaf I'd never seen before. Why? Not because the leaf changed. The ones hanging on the tree still got that in it. Not because anything in that book changed, but only because now I'm magnifying it through a glass. And when I magnified it, I saw some stuff in that leaf that I never saw before. And I'm telling you that if you magnify God in the midst of your mess, you'll see a God that can deliver you, not like the last time you went through that test and you was a failure and miserably failed in that test. But now that I'm magnifying, he's so much larger than what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through, because I saw the veins in him, I saw the midrib in him, I saw the stem of him, I saw some stuff in God I didn't even know existed. God, how many of you know God didn't change? So the magnifying is not really for him, it's for me to see how big and how bad and how rough and tough the God I serve really is. I magnified it. Oh, let me do it this way. Let me do it this way. I hope that resonated. But when it comes to the 22nd chapter of Genesis, and I read the 14th verse, here was Isaac. Abraham was told, offer your son up. Take your son up on the mountain, a mountain I'll show you. And I want you to offer your son. He said your only son. He had another son, but that's a whole other story. I won't go into that. Take your son, your only son. Take him up to Mount Moriah. And he took his son up to this mountain. He was going to offer him up actually on the altar of sacrifice, just like God had asked him to do. And he had this boy about 16, 17 years old, most scholars say. So he wasn't no kid. He had this wood on his back for the offering, the altar he would make. He had the fire, the thing to make the fire. And as he began to go up there, this boy Isaac said to his dad, he got to thinking, I see the wood. I placed it on my back. I see all this other stuff to make an altar, but where is the sacrifice? He asked his dad. That must have been a tough question to ask your dad, for your dad to have to try to go through that and answer it. And as they get up to the mountain, once he begins, you know the story probably, once he begins to stake him down and think about staking him down and put him on the altar, because he's building the altar. God makes a sacrifice out of the bush. But he begins to tell Abraham at the end in the 14th verse, as he begins to talk about it, he begins to let you know that it wasn't anything he intended on Abraham ever doing. He wanted not God wanted to see. God wanted Abraham to see what was in Abraham. And we got this thing all backward. You don't know who you are in any given case. If I was them, I'd never. Well, you ain't in that position. I wouldn't. If a man ever do me like, here's what I do. Well, maybe you never been in that position. If I face those money problems, here's what I do. Well, maybe you never been there. It's easy to talk about what you wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't do until you yourself get in that position. I'm reminded of Peter that's walking with Jesus. So I'll never forsake you, Jesus. I'll never forsake you. As if the other 11 will. He was the very one that the spotlight fell on, and he denied Jesus 3 times when it came really down to the cross. But when I began to look at this thought of Abraham, he goes up on the mountain, and as he begins to make this altar that he's going to sacrifice Isaac on, then he begins to look. He says, and Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, behold, him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham, my text, called the name of that place Jehovah Jireh. It is said to this day,
in the mount of the Lord, it shall be seen. Jehovah Jireh, one of God's names. When you magnify God, magnifying by his names, get specific with God, because in his name reveals the who-ness of God, who God is. And when I magnify him and I say, Lord, I worship you because you're Jehovah Jireh. In other words, it means the Lord will provide, or the Lord will more specifically see. In other words, the Lord will see a realm or a provision in whatever you're dealing with in the thicket for your case, for your situation. When you don't know how you're going to get out of a situation or a circumstance, or you got a court date coming up, I know a God that if you magnify him, he'll show you something, another realm in the thicket instead of you. I know a God that if you worship him, he knows how to show something else. And when you get through it, the person that was seen was not God. He didn't see Abraham, didn't see God. He saw himself. God saw Abraham. He said, the Lord will provide, or the Lord will see. Now I see God better than I've ever seen him before. I'm Abraham. I've got a great relationship with God, but now my relationship that's great with God has been made even better, because now I see he was going to even provide a ram in the bush for me. God, I see you better than I've ever seen you before. Now I see you, Lord. I'm going to call you Jehovah Jireh, because I see you like nothing else. God didn't take Abraham into the mount so God will know what's in Abraham and if he was going to do that or not. That's the way it looks. God took him into the mount to offer up your son, your only son, to see if Abraham knew himself. Yes. God was showing Abraham himself. Yes. And he could have changed his mind. That was a 3-day journey, which is typical of the cross. He could have changed 3 days, 3 days of 24 hours, each hour, each beating minute of you being able to have the opportunity to change your mind. 3 days. My son, you told me, God, he's the lineage. Now you're telling me to go kill him. Take him up in that. God took him up in that mountain to show, not God, he wanted Abraham to see himself. 3 things, I said this before, that ever a child of God should know. You should be a constant